All right, hello and welcome back to Season 1, Episode 24 of Borderline FPL, the podcast that constantly crosses the line between FPL advice and Premier League banter. My name is Chris.
And my name is Ben, and welcome back after the final international break of the year. We are closing in on the home stretch of the Premier League and the home stretch of the FPL season with a lot to still be decided, Chris. There is everything from the winners to the top four to the Europe spots to the relegation battle. There's a million things still to be decided in the final
Everything to play for sure.
nine or so games. I know some teams have 9 games, some have like 7 or 6. So there's plenty to play for at the end of the season.
For sure. Yep. So today, guys, we're just going to try and keep you updated. I know it's been probably about 2 weeks since you thought about FPL, so we're going to switch that brain back on, the FPL brain and thinking and planning back on. We'll talk about, obviously, Game Week 31 is the one that we're about to go into. And so we'll talk about Game Week 31. Then we'll talk about kind of the upcoming game weeks. We'll talk about double Game Week 33. And then we'll talk about a couple other things kind of pertaining to that. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start off like we always do. Ben, I will go ahead and share the table. This is what we're looking at the moment. So we got City and Liverpool neck and neck at the top. They play each other in Game Week 32, so that will be a crazy match. I mean, it could. We just talked about this.
It could decide the title. It could decide the title, quite literally.
Yeah.
It decides who's in the driver's seat for the rest of the season.
For sure. It'll decide whose fate, it is at that point. And then, we've got us. We are 5 points behind Chelsea at the moment. We
do play them. We play them on April 20th.
Yeah.
So that could be a huge one in terms of our top four hopes. And also, we could get top three if Chelsea slip up. We definitely could. It's not out of the question.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I still think it's a tough ask. And I think we would have to beat them for that to happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, we could, though. We could. And then Spurs right on our tail, 3 points behind us. Once again, we do have a game in hand on them. So,
yeah.
But that game in hand is against them. Is against them. So it could come down to goal difference at that point. Man United not far behind. West Ham kind of falling off, but also progressing in Europe. So they might be looking to go there.
Yep.
Wolves have very much fallen off after being really in the contention a couple weeks ago. So that's your kind of Europe spots is 7 through 1. Maybe 8. Actually 8. We'll give it to Wolves. Wolves could still be with the shout of one of those European spots, but there's a 10-point jump between 8th and 9th right there. So I don't think Leicester
Wolves
and Villa
could still definitely finish 7th, especially if West Ham start to kind of switch off in the league and put all their eggs into the Europa League basket. I could see it happening.
Well, what could be interesting too is if Leicester win the Conference League, as they beat Rennes in their last round, and they're now moving on as well. If they win the Conference League and get admitted to Europa League immediately next year, that could be very interesting as well to see how that shakes up. And then at the bottom.
Yep. Take a look at the bottom.
Yeah.
Watford, Burnley, and
tough.
Norwich under the line at the moment. Burnley still have only played 27 games. So have Everton. Everyone else is 29 or more. You see that Brentford and Leeds have played 30 games. So I think I'm willing to say at this point, I think Newcastle is clear.
Yeah, they're safe.
I think they're safe. I still, I think it's unlikely, but I still think Brentford could maybe get sucked into it. I don't think Leeds are quite clear yet. I think if Leeds win one of their next 2 games, I think they're probably in the clear. But Everton is certainly still in this and need to make up some ground. That win over Newcastle United back in Game Week 30. We'll go over the results.
Massive for them. Yeah, we'll go over all the results. But they needed that. Lampard needed that, to be honest, just from a managerial perspective, to give them some faith.
Would you say that you think the bottom 3 now is what will finish as the bottom 3 at the moment, or no?
I don't want to say yes, but I kind of want to say yes just because of Everton's games in hand. I think they can somehow manage to get draws or something out of it. So I'd probably lean towards yes, although I wouldn't want to see Burnley if all 3 of those teams get relegated. I'd like to see Burnley stay up, and I would love to see Everton get relegated.
Fair enough. I wouldn't mind Burnley going down personally. I just think they're such a boring team, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I love that they do that. They don't spend any money. They don't buy anyone. They play boring football that everyone knows what it's going to be, and they still manage to stay in the Premier League year after year. I think that if Burnley do go down, I expect Sean Dyche to get a Premier League job on his desk the next morning. So
yeah, that's
we'll
probably
see.
true. That is probably
We'll
true.
see.
Yeah, so that's how we're looking at the moment. I mean, golly, you could not be any closer right here between
No, those three, us
Yeah,
three, and we have that game in hand. But we still have to play Man United at home, West Ham away, Spurs
Chelsea.
away, and Chelsea away.
Yeah,
So we
we
play
probably have
all
the
the
hardest
teams
schedule
surrounding
out of
us.
the rest of the
These teams,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah.
Spurs do
Um,
have Liverpool, and they do have us. United do have Liverpool again, and City again, if I'm not mistaken.
United,
Um,
they might.
do they have they played
No, I
City
don't think that.
twice?
No, yeah, I think they've already played City twice. Pretty sure.
I know they got waxed by them last time when Sancho scored. But anyways, yeah, we'll see. There's a lot to be decided, and I mean, good God, it's really going to come down to that last week. It really might. It
Yeah,
really might.
it could be right down to the wire, for
It really
sure.
could.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the last game week. It's been a while since it happened. It was a blank game week, so there's only 4 games to go over. This might be a short pod, Ben, but we'll get to maybe talk
It
about
might. It
our
might.
teams a little bit more and kind of go into
Yeah.
depth on plans and thought process. So,
hmm
3-2
What a
leads.
game! What a game! What a
Dude,
game! I mean, dude, this is one of the classic Premier League games. One of the best games of the season,
there
honestly.
is no excuse if you're Wolves for losing this game. None.
No,
You're
they
up
haven't been the
2-0
same for
in the
weeks.
70 what it was like the 75th minute. They're still up 2-0 and they lost this game
hmm
3-2.
Yeah, they were
That's
dominating the game too. It was 2-0 and it was 2-0 early. It was 2-0 early, and then the Jimenez red card, right?
What'd you think about that red card call, by the way? Red or no red? Everybody I saw was saying it was no red, but I was like, I don't know. Like he
That's the
really
thing. I
dove
don't
into that
know.
tackle against the
He really
keeper.
did. So like, I I get it. I think that like given the circumstances of the game, you're 2-0 up. There's no need for it.
Yeah.
So I do think that that also probably put the referee's decision as a completely unnecessary challenge.
Yeah.
So I understand it.
I mean,
But if
especially
you're a
being
Wolves,
on a
if you're
yellow,
a Wolves fan, you're frustrated, right? If you're a Wolves fan, you're going to be
for
frustrated
sure.
because it's a dumb challenge. It's a completely unnecessary challenge.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's I'm totally in agreement with you
Yeah.
there. I
Mm.
just don't I don't think everybody that was saying that that's not a red is really considering the fact that he was already on a yellow, and that's just a really reckless tackle to be making, especially against the keepers. Like I feel like if you make a tackle like that
Keepers are
against
protected.
yeah, I feel like if you make a tackle against that against maybe like a center back or something, maybe you get away with it. But if it's
Yeah.
against a keeper, they're going to be more inclined to give you that second yellow and send you off. Um,
Yeah. Like for our American viewers, a goalkeeper is protected the same way a quarterback is protected in the NFL. You don't have to hit them hard for them to get special protection, basically. So
yeah.
anything that you do to the goalkeeper, it's going to be scrutinized that much more.
For sure, for sure. And
Mm.
I mean, but what a result for Leeds and Jesse Marsh. Like that
Oh,
is
they needed it. They needed it. And like not only do they need the points, but they needed a win in this fashion
mhm,
to kind of like rally the troops. And honestly, for Jesse March, the most frustrating thing for him has to be the fact that international break followed.
yeah,
Because once you get that momentum, you want to play the next game. You want to like your boys are full of confidence. You want to
mhm,
keep going. So it'll be really interesting to see this week if Leeds can continue that momentum.
yeah,
But in terms of talk about a team that needed a win, let alone a win in this fashion, it was Leeds. It was
yeah,
Leeds above anybody else. They needed it. The new manager bounce helped them here. And you've got to credit Marsh for the job he's done coming in and getting them to play like this, to not give up because it's so easy for them to put their heads down and sulk 2-0 down,
mhm,
but didn't give up. And I got to respect Leeds today for this win.
for sure. Well, for as far as FPL goes, there's a good bit to talk about in this one. I think Rafinha owners are probably really frustrated with this game, just
Mm-hmm.
coming out of it with no returns.
Mm-hmm.
I think Raf got brought off early, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But he was looking pretty threatening while he was on the pitch. Ailing with a goal and assist as well. And then
Yeah,
the rest
GG
of
to
them
those who
are
held.
pretty yeah, the rest of them are pretty much non-factors in FPL. I would say pretty much the only person that FPL players have from Leeds is Rafinha at the moment. Maybe you have Rodrigo as a striker position
Maybe,
since
but like
Bamford's out, but
that's a
a
jump.
stretch
No
for
one has
sure.
Greenwood, former Arsenal Academy product Greenwood, by the way.
Um, yeah, and then
But
I
yeah,
mean, so Wolves. I know a lot of people had Jimenez. A lot of people had Jimenez. If you looked at it on paper, you're like, okay, what striker
Jimenez
this
against
week? Yeah,
Wolves. Yeah,
Jimenez against Leeds. What
yeah,
what
or
striker
Leeds,
this week
excuse me.
has the best fixture? You would have said probably Jimenez. So owners can definitely count themselves as unlucky there. Hopefully you didn't captain him. That would be really rough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Podence impressed. Trincao had a really good game. I honestly
Mm-hmm.
think this is on their manager for not, buckling down there at the end. Even with a man down, they need to
Well,
be able to close out that game.
it's something that they've done so well this year. I remember they did not lose a game where they had a lead in the second half until the Lacazette 96-minute winner just a couple of weeks back, which is like
We
what, 4 matches
we
ago.
broke them. We broke
Yeah, I
them.
know we broke them. I was getting there. I was building. I gotta let the viewers get to that point themselves.
Hey,
But
okay,
I
fair
was
enough.
gonna walk
Fair
them
enough.
there.
Hey.
Obviously, Arteta broke that, man. Like, come on. But no. So like, you want to talk about a solid defensive team? It was Wolves was one of the best defensive teams this year until he had to face Arteta,
For
quite
sure.
literally. And even when we did face him, we scored one. We beat them 1-0
Yeah.
at home off of a corner,
Mm-hmm.
and then we beat them 2-1 on the road with
The
a last
last
minute, and
second, yeah.
technically it
I
was an
mean, I
own
still
goal.
think they
But
have a
like, yeah,
really good defense. They just
they do. That's the thing. So like
fell
it's just
apart
kind
in
of
this
crazy that
game.
they had this like run of clean sheets, this run of 1 goals, this run of we don't concede in the second half, and they know how to buckle down. And they're led by England international Connor Cody,
Right.
who is a terrific, terrific defender. Would walk into pretty much any club starting lineup in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just capitulated lately, late in games. Or this game and Arsenal. It's twice we've seen it in not a long space of time. So if you're the manager, you can tell that the doubt is clearly creeping into the players' minds in terms of closing out games, and they're going to need to kind of do what Leeds did and get a result proven to themselves they can still do it, and these are both flukes.
For sure. I thought it was odd to see Max Kilman on the bench again this week
Mm-hmm.
for Willy Bolly. I did not anticipate that because he missed
Mm-hmm.
back. He missed out a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it, and we thought it was maybe having something to do
Just
with
a
the fact.
one-off. They had a double game week. Yeah.
Yeah, he needed some rest, and also the stuff around Russia and Ukraine. He has some family ties to that
Yeah.
issue. But he was on the bench again this week. I think owners, I definitely anticipated him to start this game. He
Mm-hmm.
obviously didn't. Not the end of the world at the end of the day because they conceded 3 goals, but
Yeah.
still unfortunate. I think at this point for both of these teams from an FPL perspective, Ben, I think they're probably at a sell point. If you have Wolves players, I would be selling at this point. Even their defenders, they actually, especially for planning for the rest of the season, Wolves have a blank game week in 33, which is the double game week.
Yeah.
And their fixtures from here on out are kind of,
They're getting a
they're
little
not
more
great.
difficult. They're
They're
not
not
great.
great.
I have 2 Wolves players, and I am looking to get rid of in future weeks. But one is the guy that I kind of brought in, but he's been really good as Podence.
Mm-hmm.
I've had him for a couple weeks, and he's been honestly delivering some good returns, even though the results haven't been terrific.
Ben, do you know who
So
I think? Do you know what I think about when I watch Podence? Is I think about that
what?
one line from FIFA we used to play all the time for Valbuena. He's a tricky
Yeah,
customer,
tricky
Matthew
customer, Matthew Valbuena.
Valbuena.
Yeah, he is. He is a tricky customer though, because you never know what he's going to get, and also he's listed as a midfielder in FPL.
Yeah.
But right now, especially with Jimenez out, I'd be very shocked if he doesn't move up to that striker position to play a 2 with Huang.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when Huang was out, it was Podence that was playing as the second striker alongside Jimenez. So now that Jimenez is out this week, quite simply, I'd be stunned if he doesn't take that striker role, honestly, because I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to give it to the
Well,
young
yeah,
lad,
and like
Silva.
I don't think it's a necessarily an urgent like sell now thing, but it's definitely
No,
for
down
both
the
these teams
not a
because
keep.
they both have a blank game week in 33 when a bunch of other teams are doubling. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to offload one of your Wolves or Leeds players for a double game week player, then you're not only gaining 1, but you're gaining 2 fixtures for that game week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think definitely start to look to sell Wolves, especially if you're like tripled up or doubled
Yeah,
up.
look to slowly
I
move
think
out.
Leeds still have 2 good games, the next 2 before 33. So if you have Rafinha and you want to hold him, that's okay to hold. But you'll definitely want to sell once 33
Mm-hmm.
hits. But other than that, not a whole lot much more to say about this game in
No,
particular. Great
no, we
result for
talked about it for
Leeds.
a minute.
And
Yeah.
we'll move on. And we'll
So
go to
game of the
RE.
weekend here.
Was it really the
Personally,
game of the weekend?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just wondering.
I don't know why that's even a question.
Continue,
You sound so
continue. Go
stupid.
ahead.
You sound so stupid right now, even
Okay.
asking that. That was incredibly dumb. I
Okay.
can't believe you asked that question.
Okay.
Let me explain why this was the game of the weekend. So, a couple of years ago, there was an Arsenal goalkeeper that now plays for Aston Villa. And he was super mad that he wasn't the number one coming into the season. And so this year, Arsenal got a new goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale, who actually took over for Leno, who was the number one that kept Martinez out of the lineup. Not only did Aaron Ramsdale dunk on Emi Martinez when we beat them 3-1 at the M's earlier this year, but now Emi gets to go. We get to go to his home now, go to Villa, and he gets to look across the field and not see Ramsdale, who's our typical starter, because he had a muscle problem, which Chris and I are both Ramsdale owners, so for us, like tough FPL wise, right? But we'll get to that later. He should be back for Monday's game. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. I'm holding. Chris is holding too, just for that matter. But he gets to look across the field and see his old friend, who he thought he could beat, who he thought he was better than, who he thought he was the number one. And he gets to look across the field. And for the first time since like December or something, maybe November, honestly, or October, I don't even know. For the first time in like 6 months, Bert Leno was starting a goal for Arsenal in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And what did he do, Chris?
He kept a clean sheet, Ben.
He kept a clean sheet in Emi Martinez's backyard. He kept a clean sheet. And the goal that Emi let up, was it a world-class strike? Was it something that you would like kind of expect a goalkeeper to save? Maybe I would. Looking back on it, I would.
I don't know. It was a good quick shot by Asaka, and his vision was definitely blocked. But if you wanted to follow your narrative, then you could.
My agendas have to run. It was savable, right? My agendas have to run. It was definitely
Leno made
quite
possibly a game-winning save.
The only save he had to make was the free kick at the last minute from the edge of the box, and he just parried it away. Really good save, to be fair. Like pushed it well away from goal, and the ref blew his whistle.
Yep.
So game of the weekend, the storylines around it were just fantastic. Saka once again showing his class for Arsenal. A lot of yellow cards, specifically the Xhaka one I thought was beyond ridiculous. But I won't get into referees' decisions. He apparently counted 3 fouls despite Xhaka having committed.
There was a lot of controversy about that.
You want to talk about an agenda?
I dislike Xhaka, and even I
know,
with
but
you
that was atrocious.
So bad.
It was his first foul in like the 43rd, 44th minute, like down by their box. And the referee walks up to him and points and goes like 1, 2, and 3 around the field of like fouls that he committed. It was his first foul of the game.
Yeah.
And the referee apparently made up 3 different fouls that he thought Xhaka had committed and gave him a card for his imagination running wild, basically.
That's tough.
Which is crazy because the only other midfielder we had playing was Thomas Partey, and there's no way he confused those 2 players. So I don't know what he was thinking about giving Xhaka fouls.
Be severely colorblind in order to do that.
Yeah, anyways. Well, we did have a referee send off Kieran Gibbs one time when he meant to send off Oxlade-Chamberlain, if you remember that back in the Wenger days.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, they literally sent off Gibbs instead of Chamberlain because he thought they were each other, basically.
they look somewhat similar. I'll give it to them.
They do. They had the same haircut at the time. Yeah. The Ox had the same haircut, but yeah.
Anyways, big performance from Saka. He continues to get the job done. He has the most goal contributions of any young player in the Premier League at the moment. I'd be shocked if he didn't win Young Player of the Year.
It's him and Foden. I think it should be Saka as well.
But Saka has more goal contributions, so.
And he's in a worse overall side, obviously.
Yeah. So. So I think Saka has so much room to even improve. He will eventually be a world-class player.
He is.
And
he is.
It's nice, dude. Ben, it feels good to be an Arsenal fan. This year, I know you'll say it's always good to be an Arsenal fan. Whatever, it's been tough the last couple seasons. It's good to see.
We've had a rough couple of years.
It's good to see our plan, kind of coming to fruition. Arteta, everybody's fully bought into Arteta now. I don't think anybody is doubting him at the moment.
I think we're early. We're early on our plans. If we get Champions League this year, we are a year ahead of schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
We are a year ahead of schedule, so it's working incredibly well.
Okay, let's swap gears over to FPL, Ben. I'm a Saka owner. I've had him for weeks now. I think I've been saying for a while, I think he's the best, mid to
Arsenal
low
asset.
priced midfielder in the game at the moment. I don't think there's anyone better.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's definitely the best Arsenal asset to have, and
Mm-hmm.
he just continues to do the business. At that price, what is he now? I think he's probably somewhere like
6.7. He's
okay, he's
6.7.
six
I
seven.
just transferred him in, so spoiler for my team, but yeah.
Okay, so I bought when he was 6.4, so I've had him for a
Yeah.
while,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean in that price range, you're looking at James Madison, who actually did well this week. You're looking at Harvey Barnes,
But an assist this week.
and yeah, that's pretty much it in that price range. If you go a little bit lower, you're looking at Kulusevski, who is definitely an
Mm-hmm.
FPL asset, but I honestly think Saka's clear of all three of those names. So
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
he's worth the bit of extra money, especially because Arsenal still have a double game week to come in 33, and we still will have another double game week as well because we have that extra game against Spurs to be rescheduled eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think if you have Arsenal assets, they're definitely a hold. If you're not tripled up, you may want to consider it. We don't have the best schedule for the rest of the season, but I think at the moment it's nice for a top team, in the Prem to have a pretty much very predictable lineup. You know what
Mm.
team Arteta is going to start week in and week out. And for FPL towards the end of the season, especially for a team that's fighting tooth and nail for top four, that that's not going to change very much at
Every
all.
week every week is no, he's not. Arteta doesn't change the lineup unless he has to. The
Yep.
only ones that he's changed really is our left wing with Smith Rowe and Martinelli, and Martinelli was injured for this game.
Yep.
He's fit now. For those of you that watch international break, he was playing for Brazil as of last night. So by God, did he look good? He was spinning people, shooting. He basically created their third goal as well. He had the pre-assist.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be back. It'll be really interesting to see if he slots right back into that left wing spot or if we leave Smith Rowe there. We'll see. That's the only real question mark in Arsenal's lineup right now. That and the Will Ramsdale be back, but once he is, there's no question as to who's our number one.
And finally, I think Tomiyasu might actually be fit for us. So
That's true. That is true. So Cedric should be
may
done.
drop out. But
He
Cedric, to be
might
fair
start
to
for
him, has been
Palace.
playing
He's been
well.
good.
Yeah,
He's been
playing
good.
well.
He's been very good. He got called up to congratulations to him. He made the World Cup. Portugal made the World Cup, and he was called up for the friendlies, or not the friendlies, for the playing games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
And
think he played at
Portugal
all, but
qualified
he was
as
on the
well.
bench.
So
Yeah, they did. They beat North Macedonia 2-0. So credit him. Also credit Matty Cash from Villa. Shout out Poland making the World Cup as well. A little personal shout out there because I'm Polish.
yeah.
But yeah, I
yes,
think that
go ahead.
Tomiyasu. I think that Saka's like the most first name on the team sheet, along with Xhaka and Partey. I think that they are the first names on the team sheet every week, and there's no doubt that he starts every game for us for the rest of the year.
Yeah, unless he gets injured, Saka will be playing, at least starting every single game, and maybe brought off early if we have a handle lead. And you would anticipate if we have
Pepe
a strong
some
league
minutes.
that Saka probably scored before coming off. So
Yeah,
I
literally,
think
or he got an assist.
I still think our
At the center
defense
of
is good
everything.
to invest in. Ben White definitely the most bang for your
Main
buck
culprit.
probably, just because he's still really cheap. I think he's like 4.6
Mm-hmm.
now. So I still have him. I got the clean sheet and the bonus point from him this week, which was nice because most people only have one Arsenal defender, and that's Ramsdale. So a lot of people missed out on any clean sheet points from Arsenal this week.
Mm-hmm.
You already mentioned it. We're both holding
Ramsdale. Yeah,
I think he'll
I
probably
think
be
he's
back this
back.
week, but even if he's out for 1 week, I don't mind Ben Foster playing one game for me, even though it is
Mm-hmm.
against Liverpool, so that could be rough, but I'm not worried
Yeah.
about it. I'm not using a transfer on a goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
From a Villa perspective, I'm not sure if there's any player that's really of like mega interest at the moment for FPL. I still have Jacob Ramsey in my team.
I still have Coutinho, and I'm not forcing him out by any means right now.
Okay. Aston Villa do have a blank game week in 33 as well, which is the double game week.
Yeah, so right now I'm not, but looking
yeah,
forward, I probably will.
definitely are going to want to swap him out. And even if you
Yeah.
could do it early, because their fixtures aren't that great. They play Wolves this week away, and then they play Spurs at home the week after. So
I could see him cooking Spurs low key,
maybe.
which is
But
scary.
if you
I
look
could
at
see him
if
cooking.
you look at Coutinho's results specifically, He's
Mm-hmm.
basically been a flat track bully and has done absolutely nothing against any semi-decent team. So you look at
Yeah.
his returns, he
Well,
had
he did well against United.
um what was that? That's
Like when
his
he first
debut.
got
I
there.
mean, he came
Yeah,
on
when he
and got a
first got there, he
goal.
came on and got a goal and assist.
Okay. But if you look at all of his others, he has returns against Leeds twice,
Mm-hmm.
and then Southampton, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it. So
Yeah.
the goals he's scored have been against Leeds twice, Southampton, and then United as a sub. But
United.
everybody else he's blanked against. So, and he honestly, he was non-existent in the game against us, dude. Like
No, Xhaka and Partey man marked and dominated him.
he didn't
He
impress me
couldn't
at
get
all.
around. He couldn't find a way around because he would run to one side and there's Xhaka just absolutely bodying him. You go to the other side and he runs into the wall that is Thomas Partey. Also, congrats to Partey qualifying with Ghana for the World Cup.
Scoring a goal as
Um,
well.
yeah,
Chidiso.
yeah, it was. Did you see the goal? It was just the worst goalkeeping I've ever seen.
No, I didn't see the goal. I
It
heard it
was
was from outside
straight.
the
It was
box
it
though.
was straight at the keeper, bro.
That's
Like on
funny.
the ground, straight at the keeper, and he like tried to drop down and parried it. I don't know how he like if someone let that up in U14s, I'd be upset.
Yikes.
Um, so
Okay,
it was. I
well,
mean,
I
credit
think
him, right?
yeah, I think I don't know. I think Villa players for the most part are in sell territory. Personally, I don't know
Yeah.
if I'll be getting rid of Ramsey just because he's kind of like my bench fodder midfielder, unless I
Mm-hmm.
upgrade my fifth midfield slot, which I am thinking about doing, because I just think pretty much every striker in the league at the moment that's classified as a striker in FPL,
It's
bar
not worth it.
Harry Kane, is just not doing
Not worth
anything.
it. Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of my thought process around Villa. Did you have anything else FPL wise about Arsenal or Villa?
No, I think we touched on all the main hitters here for both sides, so we can move on if you want
Okay, cool. Let's visit the
to
Leicester
this
game
game.
2-1.
Yeah, Leicester got off to a pretty quick 2-0 lead. The goal from Wissa for Brentford was spectacular, but alas, it was just consolation goal. Obviously, the big debate this week was Madison or Barnes. What Leicester player are you bringing in? Vardy's out. Who are you bringing in? Do you take a chance on a striker? You brought in Madison. I couldn't afford him, so I brought in Barnes. We both
Mm-hmm.
got returns. Yours obviously being better because Madison hit the all three bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Leicester are a very interesting team this year
Yeah.
because you really don't know who's going to show up with them. Some weeks they look just atrocious, can't create anything, can't defend anything. And
Mm-hmm.
then other weeks look like the Leicester that people thought were going to be competing for top four this year and have been for the past 2 years.
Right.
They're one of the biggest gambles in the Premier League this year, which is kind of why, and I think it's pretty fair that they sit in ninth right now, because that's kind of how their season's been.
Yeah.
Sometimes really good, sometimes really bad.
They've been super Gattuso for sure.
Yeah, very good too. So there. I'm not rushing to get rid of Leicester assets. I know they play United this week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, United are a team that I don't believe are the strongest team, even if they are the name Manchester United. I'm not scared of the name personally for having teams go up against them
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't believe they're the best team. For Brentford, I had Tony. Obviously, he didn't return like he did the past couple of weeks, which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll probably be on the bench for me this week. I'm not going to start. I think they're playing Chelsea away, so I'm not going to start him at all.
Right.
But other than that, I wouldn't be looking at Brentford at all from an FPL perspective in the slightest. Just Tony, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably not someone that's going to stay in my team for that long after this game week, honestly, or maybe 2 game weeks from now.
Right.
But for Leicester, would you rather still have Madison or would you rather change to Barnes?
I'm very happy to hold Madison. I just think Barnes may end up being more consistent in his returns in terms of like he could literally get an assist in every game for the rest of the season. And Madison may have some blanks, but also Madison's ceiling in my eyes is way higher than
especially for
Barnes.
goal scoring. Yeah.
So I'm happy. I'm happy to have Madison.
Mm-hmm.
The only I guess issue you have, Madison has this recurring back problem per se that I think he's recovered for the most part. But that could be an issue. Also, we don't know how serious they're gonna take Conference League.
I think they're taking it very seriously from the lineups I've seen them dish out. They actually had Wesley Fofana came back for them in their most recent Conference League game. So if he is, and I think he scored actually, which ended up being the deciding goal because they won 3-2 on aggregate.
Mm-hmm.
If he's back for Leicester in the Premier League and you're looking to take a punt on a cheap defender based off what he did last season, he's insane.
Talking
He's
about James Justin?
No, I'm talking about Wesley Fofana.
Wesley Fofana. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, the one who tore his ACL right at the very end of preseason.
Yeah.
Had his debut this season
I don't
in the
know.
Conference League
Genuinely,
game.
I don't know if he'll get a whole lot of game time in the Prem because Daniel
I don't think they're going to
Amarte
risk
has
him.
been playing so well for them.
Well, I just don't think they're going to want to risk him, but they played him in the Conference League, which is very serious competition that looks like they're going to have to win if they want to get back into Europe this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they played him in that biggest moment. So honestly, I think that for Leicester, I think it's going to be flipped where they don't really care about the Premier League. And if they win, that's great. And if they lose, whatever, they're not going to get relegated. Right. But I think they're going to have to start putting all their eggs in that. If we want to play Europa League next year, we have to win Conference League. We're probably the strongest side left in it, to be fair. Maybe Roma, maybe Bodo Glimt, or whatever that team is that Roma's playing next round that bodied them in the group stages. But in terms of big names left in the Conference League, there aren't a ton. It's Roma, it's Leicester, and there's a couple more, but those are probably two of your bigger names left in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
so
I think Leicester's definitely a huge FPL hot topic, purely because they still have the most games out of any other team to be rescheduled. So one of their games finally got rescheduled into game week 33. Their game week 33 is now they're playing Everton and Newcastle. And I'm pretty sure they're both at home. We'll take a look at it. Don't take my word for that.
We'll look ahead.
But they're definitely against Everton and Newcastle. Then they still have a home fixture. Sorry, I'm looking at it if you can see me.
No, go for it. Go. We can tell. Go for it.
They have a home fixture against Norwich to be rescheduled still. And then they have an away game against Chelsea to be rescheduled still. So they still have the most games left to play out of any other team, which, in theory, if you're trying to stack up for the rest of the season, you're going to want to bring in some Leicester players if you don't already have one.
You're going to want to bring in a Harvey Barnes, a James Madison.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, a Jamie Vardy. If he's not, a Kelechi Iheanacho is a very good.
I just can't justify paying that much for Vardy at this point. I think it's basically between Barnes, Madison, and then maybe a defender. You could even consider Schmeichel as your goalie if you really wanted to for the rest of the season, just because he has more fixtures, more save points, opportunities. They might keep a couple clean sheets.
Maybe, yeah.
It's not crazy. It really isn't.
No, it's not. I don't think it's the worst shout in the world. But
yeah, and then you've got if you wanted to, I don't know if you're if people are still building towards a bench boost and you need just like a cheapie to play who's going to play every week, you can either go for like Dewsbury Hall, who's played pretty much every game for them this season so far, who's 4.4 midfielder. He did play a little bit more advanced against Brentford. Or you could go for like a Daniel Amarte, who's still getting starts in this Leicester team. So I think there's a lot of options. I think it's awesome to see Castagna come back into this team for the first time this season and just score a worldie.
He's
that was
a top
a great
player.
Goal. But I think obviously the main debate for the rest of the season is just going to continue to be between Madison and Barnes. And I think there's not a whole lot in it. I just tend to favor Madison because I think he's a bonus points magnet and I think he has a higher ceiling. But I also think Harvey Barnes will probably start more games. I won't be shocked if Madison misses out a game or two that Barnes plays in. I think honestly it's viable to even go with both. If you really want to.
No, it's not a bad double up with the amount of games that they have left and the double game weeks they have coming up. It's not a bad shout at all.
Yeah, not at all. But yeah, I just wanted to get that in there just in terms for planning in the future. Leicester is definitely a team that you should be looking at to bring in players, whether you have free hits left, don't have free hits left. Take a look into Leicester. But let's move on from there. Let's go into Spurs 3, West Ham 1, London Derby then. And Spurs got the best of them.
Yeah, Spurs were pretty dominant this whole game. Kane 3 assists, Zuma with an own goal off the first one, and then Son bagging a brace. It was the Kane and Son show, much like it was.
Yeah, I feel like it's last season again, bro.
Yeah, literally. Son claiming all 3 bonus points with his 2 goals, Kane getting 2. West Ham tried to grab a football back in this game. I think that own goal really kind of sunk them pretty early into the game. And then again, Sun scoring to make it 2 pretty early, and then they tried to get one back. They did get one back, but then at the end they were pushing too much, and Sun was easy to basically take his time, walk in and score.
Yeah.
And if you see there's no saves that Lloris had to make for the entire game. So
Mm-hmm.
they had one shot and it went in.
Yeah.
So he wasn't really tested the whole game. It's tough. West Ham clearly were feeling tired legs. They went to extra time against Sevilla,
Mm-hmm.
or Sevilla in the Europa League the Thursday beforehand, and then they played this game on Sunday. So very tired legs for them, and they're obviously putting a lot into that Europa League basket. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe they're playing Lyon from France in the next round, Lacazette's former club. So that's going to be another grueling 2 legs for them. Lyon's a
Yeah.
very good squad. They have very good profile players, and we'll see how they match up. So it seems like their Premier League campaign, at least for top 4, is kind of over
For sure.
right now, and they could go on a great run. I don't want to knock them off. They're a terrific team, but it does seem like they're really putting a lot of eggs in the we'll make Champions League if we win Europa League basket.
Mm-hmm.
And Europa League is pretty wide open. There is no team that I would say that is like a blatant front runner for it right now.
Yeah.
Maybe Barcelona,
Yeah, I would say probably
but
Barca.
because they did just knock off Napoli and they did so fairly easily. West Ham could win. West Ham could totally win Europa League. I don't
They
think that's
could.
that far out of the question.
It's not crazy. I don't know. I
I
doubt
wouldn't
it, but it
expect
could.
it.
It's possible.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say condolences to Zuma's cat because he was probably really pissed off after this game, conceding the own goal. Second of all,
Jeez.
dude, Son and Kane are back at it again, and it's
Yeah.
weird for me, obviously being an Arsenal fan, but they have been the key to my success in FPL. We'll take a look at like kind of my team, but also like my game week history. I jumped on both of them at the perfect time when I used my second wild card, and literally as soon as I brought them both in, they turned into the Son and Kane of last year because they were
Yeah.
very more so. Son was kind of doing his thing the whole season, but Kane was very not all there. But Kane is definitely back on his game, and we'll take a look at Kane more in depth. He's on it, and honestly, he's one of the best passers in the league at the moment. Genuinely, he really is. The way that he finds that space for Son and consistently makes those passes while he's running in behind, he's just a really good all around number 9. He's probably the best number 9 in the league still.
No, he's one of the best in the world. I
Yeah.
think he's top 3 in the world. I think there's only 1 or 2 guys that are ahead of him in that position.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Spurs are still a hot topic. I think all of Son, Kane, and Kulusevski. I mean, obviously Kulusevski did not get on the clean sheet, or not on the clean sheet. Didn't get on the
He didn't
score
get
sheet
points. He didn't
this
return,
week.
but he was very involved.
But he always looks threatening. I think Conte really likes Kulusevski, and it seems like he's providing another creative outlet that they've been missing since basically Christian Eriksen left. And Bentancur's really come in and kind of solidified that midfield a little bit more. So it's not like Højbjerg has everything to do. He has a little bit of help now, and they're starting to look more solid. So, they're going to be our biggest threat to top 4. That the North London derby is going to be crazy, and we'll go from there. But what do you think about Spurs and West Ham assets in terms of FPL? Are you thinking about bringing any in?
I don't have any West Ham. I don't have any West Ham assets. I'm not looking to bring any in at the moment. I'm not sold on Antonio. I think at one point in the next 3 to 5 weeks, Antonio will score again, and everyone's going to love the hype again, and then he'll do the thing where he goes quiet.
Mm-hmm.
For Spurs, obviously the obvious ones, Son, Kane, and Kulusevski. I think any of those 3 are good shouts. For West Ham, I wouldn't buy in at the moment to a West Ham player right now. No, because I don't know how seriously they're going to be taking the Premier League with the Europa League schedule and how big those games are. They have a lot of tough games coming up, so they might see top 4 as, even if they were going for it, very difficult to achieve. And they might just, rest some players, give Souček a rest, give Antonio a rest, and make sure Bowen gets healthy again, so they can really go and send it when they go into those last 2 legs against, or the 2 legs against Lyon. Not last 2 legs, there's only 2 legs, but the 2 legs against Lyon. So I'm not buying into West Ham. Spurs, any of those 3 players, total fair game.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think West Ham, especially since Bowen's been out,
Hmm.
really interests me in terms of FPL. Their defense has been shaky all season. You can't really ever
Hmm.
rely on them to keep a clean sheet. And Bowen was obviously the star man for a while, but he's been out injured. I dude, I timed that perfectly as well because I sold Bowen back when he was still in everyone's teams, and that's when I brought in
Hmm.
Saka on my wild card, and golly, has that worked out brilliantly. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think West Ham's probably steer clear. I still think they're probably going to put in a lot of their eggs into the Europa League basket as
Europa League.
well.
Yeah.
I don't think they're necessarily pushing for top four anymore. They'll want to finish in
I think
European
they're
spots.
gonna want to get a European spot no
Yeah,
matter what, because especially like say they lose to Lyon, like they could. Lyon's a great team. They have
yeah,
so much talent. Dembele, Awar, Croqueta, like they have so much talent. Or Croquet, Croquet. I don't know how to say it, bro. I don't speak French, but
yeah.
they have a ton of talent. Um, if they beat West Ham, I can see West Ham then kind of having to scramble and throw everything back into the Premier League and make sure they finish in the top seven for a European spot,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So I don't wouldn't count them out of that. I think they're very safe for a European spot. But I can see them kind of using that as like we'll take a Europa League, we'll take a Conference League, and let's go see if we can get Champions League because we're not going to get it the other way.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
we'll see. But
Um,
anyways, that's about all I had on this. If you wanna, do you want to jump to teams? Or do you have any more to say about Spurs?
no, that's pretty much. I mean, we'll go more into depth in Spurs when we
As
talk
I
about
said,
our
I was saying, I
teams.
know we're gonna go more into Spurs when we go to
Um,
teams.
why
So
don't you go ahead and share first, if you don't mind,
yeah, let
and
me
I will go
share my
second.
screen. Yeah, I did not plan for this game week, folks. So it wasn't good for me. I was hoping that Bowen would be back. He wasn't. I captained Lacazette. That didn't work. Tony didn't work. Coutinho didn't work. Podence
Yeah,
and
this
Barnes
is
did
just a
get
wash.
returns.
Honestly, I
It's
forgot.
just a
I
wash.
forgot that you didn't plan for this game week. So
No, I didn't. I used what I could. And to be fair, I got an assist and an assist, and Laka should have scored, to be fair. Going ahead for next week, because this is where it actually matters. We already talked about it. I don't doubt that Ramsdale is going to start for us against Palace. I just don't.
mm-hmm.
Um, Going with the back three of Cancelo, Robertson, and Livermento, with Trent currently on the bench.
I would just put
If
him in
then
there. Just stick him in there, and if he doesn't play, he doesn't
over
play.
Livermento, yeah,
Yeah,
fair
I mean,
enough.
you'll just get Livermento off the
Yeah,
bench.
yeah. So if he plays, terrific. If not, Livermento against Leeds away, it's not a terrible shout.
Mm-hmm.
I trust that more than I trust Norrie against Villa at home. I brought in Saka this week. Still have Coutinho. Still have Podence. Captaining Salah against Watford at home, as everyone should.
Mm-hmm.
Still sticking with Barnes, even though it's United away. United concede goals.
Yeah.
And then I've got Veghorst on a double game week with Manchester City at home and Everton at home. Obviously, Man City at home isn't ideal. Everton at home might be, especially for a player of his physique. I think he might be able to find some success against that Everton defense and maybe the Man City defense too. Maybe he gets the consolation goal when they're 8-0 down, right? Um,
Maybe.
but maybe, yeah, maybe
Doubtful.
Pep would. Doubtful, but it's a double game week. I don't think it's a bad shout. It's better than Tony
Yeah.
at
I
Chelsea
mean, if you're
away.
looking at it,
So,
you're basically looking at it as a single game week with Everton at home, and you're
and then
hoping,
hopefully some
you
extra
know,
points.
a couple of just appearance points in the City game, and you can
Yeah,
pretend that it's
that's the
bonus
goal there.
points.
Yeah,
Um,
Lacazette obviously coming off a heater. For those that don't know, Arsenal had a behind closed doors friendly with Brentford B today, and Lacazette scored a hat trick. So he's
Wild.
going to be coming into this one with a lot of confidence. And he scored the equalizer against Crystal Palace when we played them earlier this year. So
Yeah.
he's ready.
Jokes aside, I do think Lacazette is probably the only other striker in FPL at the moment that is basically worth having, genuinely,
He's a
because
lock to start. He's crucial. He's been getting assist after assist,
he's gonna
honestly.
start every game. He's gonna get you assists by feeding Saka and Martinelli, and he's a
Mm-hmm.
penalty taker. So you're like,
Yeah.
if we get a pen,
And
he's
occasionally
gonna
he's a goal threat.
yeah.
Occasionally he's a goal threat.
Every once in a
He's
while
not
he'll
the
score a
biggest goal
goal.
threat, but so I like the lineup that I have for this week. Obviously, if Ramsdale doesn't play, I'll get Foster's 1 point against Liverpool.
So
But yeah,
there's one thing I look at your team and I see that's a glaring issue. Do you know what it is? In my opinion,
what?
you're not gonna like it.
No Spurs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I don't. Yeah, I
So,
know.
okay, is this gonna be a thing where you just like refuse to get any Spurs players in your FPL team?
No, I
Or?
just don't. I mean, part of it, no. Like I've had Son, I've captained Son earlier this year. I've never had Kane,
Mm-hmm.
and I almost brought in Kulusevski as of last week.
Yeah.
I took Barnes instead, which ended up being the correct decision in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I think Kane would be a great shout. I just didn't have the budget for it right now. I didn't work with the way I had my team set up, but
Mm-hmm. Fair
potentially
enough.
could I bring him in down the road? Yeah, absolutely. Especially if this continues to be a huge issue, this and someone else could turn into Kane and some cheap defender.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, we'll see. I'm not really tripping yet, but yeah, I also just don't like them. So that doesn't make it more, it makes it easier.
To each their own.
So
To each their own.
yeah. But anyways,
Okay.
I'll let you take over because I know you do have a lot of Spurs assets.
I do. I have a
You have
lot.
three. You have triple Spurs.
I do. Okay, so this was my game week. All things considered, a really, really good game week for me because
Mm-hmm.
I planned ahead of time for this game week. I knew that I had no free hits left, so I would have to play for this, or I would have to plan for this blank game week. So basically, all of my transfers since game week 27 have been, to bring in players for this game week. And obviously, this was the carry right here. Every single player that I needed to return returned, and they didn't even just slightly return. They all had double-digit hauls.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Kane with the 3 assists, Son with the 2 goals and all 3 bonus, Madison with the goal, all 3 bonus, Saka with the goal, all 3 bonus. Unlucky that Ramsdale missed out. That would have been more clean sheet points, but I got Ben White with his clean sheet and bonus, and then Spurs conceded. Max Kilman got benched, and Jacob Ramsey got a yellow card.
Didn't do
I
a
think.
thing. Yeah, he didn't do. He didn't do anything the entire.
But
yeah.
all things considered, really, really happy with this game week. It went, this game week when I went into it, I was like, okay, I'm literally just trying to survive. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, and then I came out much better off than majority of people. I mean, I had a game week rank of like 340,000, which is really good. Insane. Considering I didn't play a free hit. And I didn't have 11 players. I ended the game week with what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. and I scored 72 points.
Two of those combined for 3 points.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, very happy with that. If we take a look at, like, this is what I was telling you earlier, my game week history, I got to take a moment to brag a little bit. But yeah, very, very happy with this. Game week 26 was when I played my wild card, Ben. That's when I played my second wild card. I was 76K going into that game week. Basically almost cut that in half that week, and since then have just been on the come up all the way up to just over 10K. The goal is to finish inside the top 10K for the first time ever. I'm hoping I can do it. I know I have no chips left. A lot of people still have, a free hit, maybe a bench boost lying around. Some people even still have their second wild card, but very happy with my chip usage for the most part, especially my second wild card. I think that's what's given me so much success is I brought in the team that I have now really early on, and they all just started to perform really well. So yeah, happy with that. Then we'll go to pick team. This is how I line up for this week at the moment. I have obviously Ramsdale and Trent just like you do. I think the most recent news on Trent is that he's in a race against time to play the City game. So that would suggest that he's probably not going to be available for Watford. Now, if we think about that, some would say, okay, if he's not going to be ready for Watford and then he plays City away in his next game, maybe it may be worth a sell. You're definitely playing with fire selling Trent.
Because Trent can go off at any point.
I won't lie to you that I'm very much so considering selling him for kind of a counterpart in maybe a Cancelo or a Reece James, because I think both Chelsea and City have better fixtures for the run-in.
Oh, City definitely does by a mile.
However, we all know that Trent is the best defender in FPL by far. League, yeah. Okay, it's not even close. That's the reason. Like this is the highest price for a defender that I think there's ever been. 8.5, 8.4. He just dropped. He was 8.5.
He was 8.5.
That's crazy.
If he wasn't injured, if he wasn't injured, it would have gone up.
That's
more,
my concern, Ben, is if I end up taking out Trent. I'm selling him for 7.9. Okay?
Yeah.
So I can't just buy him back. I would have to find the money.
0.5 mil, that you have to find to restore.
And that's tough. That's tough to do.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely back and forth on that. My thought at the moment
Who do you have coming off the bench for him right now? Oh,
Broha against Leeds, which I'm completely happy with. That's fine. My thought at the moment is just to roll the transfer this week. I don't necessarily think I need to make a transfer. If I do decide I want to get rid of Trent, it will need to be this week. Because in order for me to capitalize on people that are missing out on Trent this week, I would need to bring in a Cancelo or a Reece James this week. I'm very iffy on that. I'm probably going to decide against it, but I won't count it out. Purely because let's go ahead and bring up their fixture. So, like I said, let's say he's going to miss out on Watford. Okay, and then they have City away. Then they have United at home. They thrashed United 5-0 away, so you would think, okay, they probably keep a clean sheet at home as well. That's a fair assumption. I would tend to think that maybe United are still fighting for the top 4. I think United maybe could find a way to score against Liverpool. I don't think it's impossible.
Likely, but yeah.
Then for the rest of the games, you would think clean sheet against Everton at home, clean sheet against Newcastle away. Tottenham might give them a game, could score against them, especially in the form that Kane and Son are in. You would think a clean sheet against Southampton, against Wolves, and against Villa to be rescheduled.
Well, on top of that, too, it's not just the clean sheet points with Trent. That's only half of the thing for him. Yeah. He's better attacking than most strikers and most midfielders in this game. So that's the other thing that you're missing out. And we can look at it and be like, oh, yeah, these fixtures are great for – you can probably keep a clean sheet against this team, and oh, Man United might score. He could go to Man United and get a hat trick of assists, man. He does that stuff. So it's not only when you lose Trent are you losing the clean sheet points. Liverpool have a great defense between him and Van Dijk and Matip, who's the reigning Premier League player of the month, and Konate if he comes in, and Robertson, and Alisson's probably the best keeper in the league. But Trent as an attacking threat is the thing that keeps me from being like,
absolutely,
yeah, I can let him walk away right now because his attacking returns are just insane. He takes corners, he takes free kicks, he scores free kicks. It's too many good things that he has that I'm like, yeah, I can get that from Robertson or I can get that from Cancelo.
It's definitely a tough sell, especially considering how much value I have built up in him because I bought him for 7.5 to start the year.
Yeah, to start the year. And now he's
8.4. He just dropped to 8.4.
8.4, yeah.
So that's a tough sell, but it is something, it's not off the margin. Now, if I don't do that, my thought process is bank the transfer and then next week do something like this. Get rid of this striker slot because I'm sick and tired of the strikers in FPL this year. And then probably bring in a fifth midfielder. That could be any one of maybe a... I already have James Maddison. Let me go to all players, midfielders. Let's go under 6.8. So it could be I could
Smith Rowe.
We talked about it earlier. I could double up on
Barnes.
Leicester. I could go Harvey Barnes, and then I'd have the pair of Maddison and Barnes, and you would think between the two of them, I'm probably getting returns.
You could grab Zaha. You could grab Odegaard. There's tons of options.
I probably wouldn't go for Raf just because they miss out on double game week 33. It would probably be between Harvey Barnes and where is he?
Who?
Why isn't he? Okay.
Who is it? Just say the name.
Kulusevski.
Okay, I'm about to say, just look up the name. He might be about there you go.
So, but if I did this, I would also have to get rid of Reguilon.
I have to get rid of Reguilon because you can't.
Because I can't have 4.
Obviously.
So, I don't know. I could also just get rid of Malpe and then upgrade a Max Kilman to a and I could play 5 in the back. I genuinely could. It wouldn't bother me if I just turn. I would turn Max Kilman into a Chelsea defender. Let's Let's get rid of Kulu. It would probably end up being Reece James because he has been training. He's back in action for Chelsea.
Yeah, and then just go fill that striker slot with anybody.
Yeah, and this would just be a bench fodder, because I don't have to. Yeah. That's the only nice thing about getting my, all my chips out of the way, is while everybody else is still, having to keep some value on their bench. If they still have bench boost, I can just get rid of those slots. They don't matter to me anymore. As long as I have probably 2 substitutes on my bench that I can count on to come in if my players miss out, I'm happy with that. If the third slot is just fodder, that's fine. And then I would get an opportunity to play, I could play a 4-4-2 here, or I could play a 5-4-1 if I wanted to. There's a lot of options there. So that's kind of my thought process at the moment. I'll probably keep hold of Trent, but it's not for certain. Yet.
Anyways.
So that's where I stand, Ben. That's where I'm at.
I like it. No,
I think the lineup this week looks good. Honestly, the triple Spurs against Newcastle at home looks really good. I don't think many people will have that. Obviously, I'm one of very few people, I would say, that have both Son and Kane and Salah. My team value is through the roof, and Trent and Robbo. So playing, again, that's where playing my wild card when I did and hopping on these players before they all rose in price significantly has benefited me massively, because I'm able to afford this team. Now, Maupay, I'm fine to hold for Norwich at home, but I want him out of my team ASAP Rocky. Broha will probably stay in the team the rest of the season, genuinely, just because I can't be asked
he's a good
to
bench player, and he can be good, yeah.
Yeah, he's not bad in terms of, he's probably the best cheap striker in the game, I would say. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very happy with the team. And that's pretty much it that I have to say at the moment. Let's look at upcoming
fixtures for next. Yeah. The fixtures for next week.
Well, I want to skip. We'll skip this week for now, and let's just get into the double game week 33, because that's like what most people will be thinking about. The teams that have actually. Let me just bring up Twitter real quick. Twitter. Okay, this isn't working. I'm not signed into Twitter anymore. Wow. Anyways.
All right, cool. So back to this. So we can
here it is. This is all I wanted to look at. FDR. Here we go. Okay.
So Arsenal
have a double game week. It's Brighton. Southampton, Chelsea away, then Brighton, but that's a really bad double game week.
That's a really bad double game week.
Burnley have a double game week this week and game week 33. So if you wanted to jump on a Burnley asset this week, that's not terrible. I know a lot of people, and this is one of the topics we had, Ben, actually, that we haven't touched on yet. But Jimenez replacements. You already have him in your team, but I would probably tend to say Wout Weghorst is your best bet.
You have 2 double game weeks and 3 match weeks, with the middle week being Norwich.
Yep. And then after that, you still have, Wolves at home isn't the best, but you still have Watford away.
Villa
none of
home.
these are that bad, and they're going to need to perform. No. They're going to need to perform if they want to get out of the relegation zone. So
yeah, and he's the main man for them now with Chris Wood gone. He's going to be starting every game. He's key to their attack. He's going to create chances. It's just a matter of if he finishes them.
Absolutely. So, Burnley. And
Leicester
then we got
with another. Yeah.
Leicester, who I think have probably the best double game week that week. So it's Newcastle and Everton both away. But I think that's probably the best one of the week. And then you got United, who play Norwich at home, but they also play Liverpool away. It's kind of like balances each other out. And then Newcastle have Leicester at home, Crystal Palace at home.
It's not a bad one at all.
It's really not. And I think it's a good one to bring in a Newcastle punt for, genuinely.
Yeah, like St. Max if he's back, or a Chris Wood.
St. Max, a Chris Wood, a Ryan Fraser, even a
Joe
Schär in defense, who tends to get goals.
He could be a good shout that week for sure.
Yeah, I think. And
then Newcastle, you can keep them for the next week where they have Norwich away, and then get rid of them before Liverpool.
Then you're going to want to obviously get rid from there.
Yeah, Liverpool, City, and Arsenal. Yeah, but it's a good little 2-week punt to take right there on someone like that.
And then the only other one is Southampton. Who play us at home and then Burnley away.
So good and bad there for them.
And then the teams, like we mentioned earlier, that miss out on 33 are Wolves, Leeds, and Villa. So those 3 teams do not have a game week that week. But yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to be planning towards for game week 33. We all know that game week 36 is going to be probably the biggest double game week of the year. We just don't know how that's going to shake out yet because it hasn't been scheduled.
Waiting for schedules, yeah.
So yeah, I think one of the big questions is what game week, if you have a free hit, are you using that? If you have a free hit only, are you going to use that game week 33 or 36? If you have a free hit and a bench boost, are you using free hit in game week 33 and then bench boosting 36? Or are you going to try and build a bench boost for 33 and then be able to free hit 36? I think they're both options. It's something to think about.
Yeah.
So you just got to think about what chips you have left and what you think is going to bring the most value for your team out of those two. I think there will also be a couple double game weeks announced in 37 probably, but
there are still a couple games, but we'll see.
It'll be minor. It'll be minor for sure.
Yeah, there'll be very few teams. But as we can go back to the next game week just to take a look at it.
Sorry, wait.
Whoops, oh no, you're good. It just jumped back there
32.
immediately. But anyways,
so this is.
Oh, this that's is, not. No, we have. Is this week? Yeah.
No, this is the week after.
Yeah, no, I thought are we going back to the one that's this week, right?
Oh, you want to look at this week?
I thought we were looking at this week to talk like captaincy double game week.
Oh yeah, we can for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my plan. Obviously, there's only two teams in the double game week. Is Everton and Burnley.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them being favorable as they play. Their other games are against West Ham and Man City. Mm-hmm. So neither of which are great favorites. I wouldn't be aggressively trying to move players out to bring in one of those double game week players.
No.
Obviously, I think the best match. I mean, for captaincy, is it anyone but Salah for you?
I think you can absolutely consider Kane or Son. Genuinely, if you look at
even though Newcastle are in really good form though.
I wouldn't say it's really good. I mean, they've been better. Yes, they've been better. But let's look at these returns here real quick. So if you look at Son specifically and his home form, 10 points at home against City, 10 points at home against Watford. Okay, blank against Chelsea, 10 against Villa, blank against United, blank against Leeds, 8 against Brentford, 13 against Norwich, 7 against Liverpool, 8 against Palace, 7 against Southampton, Wolves blank, 7 against Everton, and then 15 against West Ham. He's blanked in 3 home games all season.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a good shout. I just don't know if it's better than Salah against Watford, but time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, but it's definitely an option. And then if you just look at Harry Kane's form since game week 26, it's been insane.
Yeah.
So you can't, honestly, genuinely, Ben, I kind of want to captain Harry Kane this week, but I'm probably going to opt for Salah. And we didn't talk about this much, but Egypt didn't qualify for the World Cup. Okay.
I know.
And they lost their game to Sadio Mane in Senegal. So I don't know how that's going to affect Salah's mental. He could be kind of bummed out, genuinely. And
the way they lost too was disgusting. If you saw the amount of lasers on his face,
I can't believe that's even allowed in the game.
I couldn't believe that they even let that result stand. Basically,
but
the way it went down because every Egyptian, the game was in Senegal. Yeah. If
we look at Salah, recently,
I mean, two bad weeks in the last 5. Like, come on, come on. And the Arsenal one, he was a sub. He came on in the 70-something minute. So that's one bad week in the last 4 that he's played.
But these two, you got to take in consideration. These are the 2 worst defensive.
Yeah, but you didn't count that when you were counting Son's good home games against them.
Well, I did.
So I don't know why they should. You didn't call out that some of his good home games were against Norwich and Leeds or some bottom teams.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Why that should affect Salah.
For sure.
And also, we can't act like he doesn't do it. And to be fair, he's playing Watford, right? Like he's not playing some Man United. He's not playing some Man City. Yeah. So that's why I
agree with you. My only thought is I don't know how his mental is going to be going into this game.
I think that I can see it your way, but I can also see him being just PO'd basically coming out and just waxing the next brother that he sees.
And he absolutely could. So that's kind of why I'm still on Salah. I just think especially from where I am at the moment, I don't want to be being super risky with my captaincies.
Of course.
I still have Son and Kane, so if they do go off, at least I'm getting those points whereas everyone has Salah and probably
If he
90%
goes off and you
of the
don't
game will
captain
captain
him,
him. Yeah.
you've
So it's just
seen
not
the
worth it.
results of him
Yeah, it's
going
just not
off and
worth
stuff.
it.
Yeah. So yeah.
But if you're chasing, genuinely, if you're chasing in a league, if you're not in a position of strength, if you're trying to gain ground, I think you should probably captain either Son or Kane, because you have at this point it is game week 31. You have 7 weeks left to make up ground. If you don't start taking risks now, it's pointless. Like and it's not like you're going rogue. These players are in form and they're playing well.
You're not taking a giant punt, like going to punt someone who just you think could go off that week. You're taking a team that's playing not a great team and their two biggest threats. So you're not going crazy.
Yeah. So that's my advice, at least. If you're playing conservatively, you should obviously always be captaining Salah. If you're trying to chase at this point, you should probably captain one of Son or Kane this week.
Or Lacazette.
Or Lacazette if you're Ben.
Or Lacazette. I'm not captain. I'm captaining Salah, by the way, for the fans at home.
Yeah. So
but anyways,
I think those are the 3 captaincy options: is Salah, Son, and Kane, probably.
So do you want to get into player picks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Ben smoked me with our last player pick. We didn't do one in game week 30.
I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it.
It is what it is. He picked Kane in double game week 29, who scored 14 points in total. I picked Saka, who blanked in both games for me, unfortunately. So I got 5 points off of him because we kept a clean sheet in one of them.
Are you sure those numbers are correct? Because Saka had a goal against Villa.
Game week 29, Ben.
You're right. We're going way back. You're right. We're going way back. We're going way back.
So
my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. It was the 3 and the 2 right here.
3 and 2. Yeah. My bad.
All good. So, yeah, you are well in the lead now. You are up to 111 points, and I am down on 98.
Well, you do get first pick this week.
I do indeed. So let me...
You do get first pick here.
Add a row. This is game week 31. Okay. Who have I used? I've used Kane. I've used Salah. I have used...
Son?
I have not used Son. I think I'm going to go with Son. Yep, that's going to be my pick. Especially after me talking up how well he's performed at home this season so far. So, Sonny is going to be my pick. Who are you fancying, Benjamin?
I think I'm going to go a little off script here and take Kai Havertz.
Okay.
Against Brentford. He's been in ridiculously good form, keeping Lukaku out, starting striker. I'm going to take Havertz against Brentford.
I like it. My only concern there would be and I think he probably starts this game, but as Chelsea are still in Champions League and they may start. I
think that they're starting to realize that. I think that they might start to realize that objects in the mirror are a little bit closer than they appear for them with the teams behind them, with us and with Spurs and with United. We're not that cushion that they had earlier in the year is not fully there anymore. So I could see Havertz starting this game and then potentially Lukaku against Real Madrid or both of them or something. Like they have options. Their depth is insane. But I'm going to go with Havertz this week.
Cool. All right. Well, that about does it, Ben. Let me make sure we covered all of the topics. We did planning for double game week 33. We did Jimenez replacements. And the only thing we were going to talk about was international break injuries. We touched on Trent, which is the main one. Ramsdale is the other one that we touched on.
Saka did test positive for COVID, but he's fully expected to be back. It's been enough days. I think he's fine.
Yep. Cool.
Is there anyone else that was crucial?
I can't think of any other injuries. Well, Jared Bowen, but he was
already injured. He was already injured. Yeah. No, that was it. No one else really picked up injuries like that.
Yep. So that about does it. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, if you have any other questions, we didn't get any questions from our tweet this week, but if you have any questions, our DMs are open. So shoot it our way. Happy to answer any questions you may have about your individual teams. And I'm excited to have Premier League back this weekend, Ben.
Yeah, man, I've missed it. I mean, it sucks that we have to wait till Monday for Arsenal, but we do have Saturday and Sunday to watch the other games. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you do want to shoot us questions on Twitter, we are at BorderlineFPL on Twitter. It is the same handle for our Instagram. You can DM us there, DM us on Twitter, tweet at us. We will respond to you. Am I missing any social media platforms? I don't think so.
Nope.
So once again,
Hit that
guys, if you did
subscribe
enjoy
button
the
on
video,
YouTube, though.
like and subscribe down below. And we will be back next week with another video. Probably on the same day, considering there's a game on Wednesday. So we'll probably wait till Wednesday night or Thursday to record.
Yeah.
So look for a video Thursday or Friday. But other than that, guys, thank you for tuning in for another week.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.